Hello, and welcome to the second annual Initialized Startup Talent Summit. My name is Tiffany Foo, and I'm the head of talent for Initialized. I have worked in 4 early stage startups before going to the VC side, so I deeply love startups, and I have a deep affinity for everything that happens, both the high highs and the low lows. Next slide, please. Do we have a slide person? Because it's not me. Okay, there we go. And we don't need to read that, so next slide, please. So tonight, we have a few different things happening. I'm going to break it down for you so you know what to expect. First, we're going to do some opening remarks, and I'm going to talk about the state of the startup hiring landscape. Then, we're going to bring 2 experts in the talent acquisition space to do a recruiter AMA, and all of the questions that you submitted with your registration, we're going to answer a lot of them and help boost your success for the later part. Then we're going to hear from 10 of our early stage startup companies, and they're going to tell you more about them, their mission, their values, what they're hiring for, and why you should go talk to them. In the last part, which is our hiring expo, which will be a free-for-all, where you will all be able to get face-to-face time with our hiring founders and other representatives from each of the companies. So, full agenda for the evening. We expect a lot more people to come at 5 p.m., so start thinking about your strategy for talking to the companies that you are most interested in making those face-to-face connections with. Next slide. A little bit about Initialized. Initialized is a seed stage VC, and we invest in early stage companies. We have over 175 active portfolio companies spanning a lot of different industries. Because we're a generalist firm, I like to say we have something for everyone in our portfolio, and to give you a sense of the range, we have AI companies, robotics companies, climate tech and energy companies, fintech, crypto, enterprise, consumer, biotech, healthcare, and a few brands. And I'm sure I missed a lot of the other sectors as well. Next slide, please. So, we invest in early stage companies, and I want to double down on what that means because early stage startups are not for everybody. For us, that really means seed to Series B companies, and there are some distinguishing characteristics that I want to hone in on because being in tech does not necessarily mean that everyone is ready to or wanting or excited about working in an early stage startup company. So a few things you may notice about tonight. There are founders here because founders are actively involved in the recruiting process at this stage, so you're going to get to talk directly with some of them. There is, maybe you haven't heard of a lot of these companies yet, and that's because there is still developing or even limited or even in stealth mode brand recognition. So we're excited to be able to share all of these companies with you and put them on your radar. And then there's a focus on building still, not just scaling, not being established. So processes, policies, or even products are still very much in build and iterative mode. And lastly, there's flatter org structures. So you're talking directly with lots of the leadership teams or even founders directly at this stage. Next slide, please. If you know me, you've probably heard me mention the phrase startup ready. And I say this a lot, but startup ready is really a way I use to describe what it takes to be ready or willing or excited about working in an early stage startup. And so it's a blend of technical skills, it's also life readiness, and it's mental preparedness to be part of an early stage company. And a lot of that has to do with being ready to be teams of ones or on small teams, to be defining the process as opposed to just maintaining the process. I think also next slide, please. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry, go back one, not that slide. And so when we think about early stage, it's important to think about stage alignment. And so tonight we have companies who may have less than 5 employees on their teams. Simultaneously, we also have companies who have 200 plus employees on their teams. And knowing where you fit and where you would be comfortable is an important part of targeting your job search appropriately. But all that to say, startups come in a lot of different sizes and developing states. All right, next slide, please. I'm going to offer a few tips for maximizing your summit experience tonight. First, target your engagement. So we sent out the list of all of the participating companies. We have a few last-minute additions, and you'll hear from them shortly. But it's important to come ready to engage with those companies and to be ready to talk with them. Optimize for meaningful connections. Often when we have these open networking events, I see people hanging out in the corner. That's me too, don't worry about it. But I encourage everyone to go up and talk to these companies. They are here specifically to talk to you. So make the most of that time. And then next, know your value prop. So be ready to talk about why this company, why this role, and why you would be a good fit or why you would be excited about working with and being a part of this mission and this company. Next, maximize your time. So we have a few lessons from the last Startup Talent Summit we did. So once we move into the networking portion of the night, you're going to hear a little chime. And the little chime is going to chime about every 5 minutes. And that's your signal to, number one, keep it tight because there will probably be a lot of other people wanting to talk to each of these companies. It's also a way of helping you pace yourself. So if you're an introvert like me, you only need to manage to chat with someone for 5 minutes before you can awkwardly move on. So honor and respect the chimes. You'll hear them. Also, if you find them really annoying, we want to hear about it. This is something we're experimenting with right now. Okay, yeah, leverage Tiffany. So I will be near the stairs. Come chat with me. If you're feeling like you don't know what you should do or who to talk to, come chat. Don't just leave or walk away or hide somewhere. Come chat with me. I'm here to help you. And then lastly, follow up. So there is no magic bullet for your job search. There's a lot of people here, and by 5 p.m. we expect a lot more people as well. So I am putting the onus of following up on each of you to make sure you stay on the radar of all of these companies that you will be talking with. I didn't do this at the beginning, so I'm going to do this now. I'd love to get a sense of who's in this room right now. So a few raised hands, if you will. Who's previously worked at a startup? Hands raised. Okay, I like this. Who's been a first of 10 employees? So employee 1 through 10. Okay, not bad. Who's previously been a founder or is currently a founder? Let's see. Nice. All right. Who's previously built something before? A 0 to 1. Okay, nice. And who's maybe hasn't and is just really excited and startup curious? Would love to see you too. All right. All right, so you are all in the right place. I'm excited for you all to be here. We are going to move it along to the next session, and a lot of you submitted questions with your RSVPs to ask for recruiters. So I'm going to invite our 2 recruiters to the stage. We have, come on up. We have Runway's Alexander Forman and TRM Labs, Alicia Strait. And to kick us off, can you both just share a little bit, like 1 minute, about yourselves and give a quick intro?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alicia Strait, VP of Talent at TRM Labs. We are a fast-growing 300-person startup that's on a mission to build a safer financial system for billions of people. I got my start in recruiting back when I was in college. I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was. And I fell in love with the startup culture, the startup environment, and how in talent we have the opportunity to shape the company's culture and growth. And so today at TRM, I lead our global recruitment strategy, which is a fancy way of saying everything around talent with an amazing team. And I just want to say thank you so much, Tiffany, for hosting this event, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex.
My name is Alexander, and I represent Runway. Runway Financial, to be very clear, not Runway ML. So what we do is we are disrupting the financial planning and analysis space, and we're trying to make business more accessible and understandable for everyone. Not just the finance folks, but literally everyone on the team, folks like me, folks like all of you, so we can actually have transparency around finances. Plus, we build out a whole bunch of integrations so you can bring in virtually any sort of data set into Runway, slice it and dice it there, use it for your day-to-day job, whatever that job might be, but also be able to correlate that with the financial goal of the department, of the company, and be empowered to make the best possible decisions. So I had the whole talent function, everything talent-related is on me, and more.
Team of 1.
Team of 1, yeah, I have a little bit of help from a contractor currently, and we're probably going to be building out the team a little bit more. But as far as how I got into talent acquisition, by accident, like many of us, I was in sales and leadership prior to that. But yeah, ultimately found my way to Google. That was my first undertaking. Then decided to go to my first startup. So I went to Mixpanel. It was a Series C company at the time. Mixpanel was a user analytics company, of course. Then made my way to Uber, pre-IPO. Really was curious about a household name of a company, but pre-IPO. What is that like? And ultimately, 4 years ago, at a quarter, found my way to Runway, and never looked back. This is my biggest, earliest undertaking, and it's been a ton of fun building together with the team. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. So oftentimes when you apply to jobs, it feels like a black box, and you don't really know what happens next. So we created this panel to help put the light and be a little bit more transparent from the hiring side. So hopefully this will help boost your success, or at least fill in some of the blanks as a job seeker out there. So first off, 2025 is weird, you guys. What's it like to be a recruiter in 2025? Any quick thoughts?
I kind of think it's like, did anyone used to drive before you had an iPhone or an Android? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you know what it's like. You know, you're like, maybe if you're lucky, you can print the directions. Otherwise, you're pulling over. If you have like a little map, spiral
MapQuest, print it out.
Yeah, right? That's kind of like it feels like to me, what we're in right now. You have a sense of the direction, the destination that you want to get to, but how you go about getting there. You can take the wrong street, for example, but you know, a little deviation. I think that's the inspiring and the fun part is like, we're kind of in this like experimentation mode, this curiosity mode, that's so ripe for doing things differently, right? Look at talent acquisition in the last like 15 years. I don't want to speak for you, but I kind of saw our industry kind of doing the same thing repetitively over and over and over again. I don't think that's just limited to talent. I think a lot of functions. And so now we get the chance to kind of rewrite the story, rewrite it for the specific use cases or the specific problem areas that we are addressing within our companies, instead of just applying something the way that we did before and doing it over and over again. So it's a little scary, let's be honest. But that's also where the fun and also like where innovation is. It's kind of the heart of tech in itself.
Thank you. I love that analogy. Curious, just given that right now jobs are receiving hundreds of applications, what makes an applicant stand out or get shortlisted in your opinions?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an incredibly oversaturated market currently. I'd say it's still employers' market, meaning that there are a lot of people, a lot of incredibly talented people looking for their next opportunity. So you should be very thoughtful about how to go about standing out in that really noisy environment. I'll be honest with you, not every single resume that gets to the talent acquisition team gets seen. Some teams implement various AI tools to try to pre-assess them. Those AI tools are not great yet. Still a lot of innovation on that front. So what can you do to actually stand out? Number of things. Depending on the stage of the company, but if you're talking to a seed stage or a Series A company, for instance, it's okay to email the CEO directly.
Double click on that.
Or a head of the function directly. Might be tough to find their email address, but usually they're pretty straightforward. First name, last name, or some variation of that. There are a bunch of guides online you can look up to do that. Keep in mind that they're strapped for time, so you need to be very concise in what you bring to the table, what hooked you, why this company is interesting to you, how can you relate to them, and don't have too much fluff in your communication when you're communicating with an executive. So don't be like, oh, I can really align with your culture or something along those lines. Be more specific what you bring to the table. You know, I've seen this podcast on this specific thing that you highlighted, really spoke to me, and this is how it relates with my experience, so on and so forth. So that's one thing. You might not get a response from a founder, but they will likely actually funnel that email to head of talent, a recruiter, or the hiring manager. So that's one idea for you. Now, another idea that I have is try to engage with the team, people who are already in a role, engineering role, PM role, sales role, whatever it might be. Many of the companies have referral programs, and what you should try to do is get through to them, have an informational interview for maybe 15 to 30 minutes, impress the hell out of them with your energy, with your skill set, with your background, and ask them to advocate for you, to ultimately refer you, versus just going in as a cold applicant, so to speak. Quick personal story on this. My wife got into investment banking 6 months ago. She works at Scotiabank as an investment banker in the tech division. And she's done over 100 of these calls in order to actually get that job. So be relentless, don't give up, and definitely leverage the team.
Thank you. Alicia, do you want to add anything?
I would agree with everything that you said. And I think as part of that, just adding on to the clarity, helping to make it extremely clear when you are applying, when you're reaching out, asking for an introduction or making that introduction, helping to not only show why your skills are such a great fit, but why you're also really excited about what the team and the company are building and why the mission alignment resonates so strongly with you. That can go a really long way. And the clarity piece, and I think like your application questions, if you're submitting an application, or when you're showing your interest about a position, take that heavy lift off of the person who's reviewing your message or your resume. Think about this. A recruiter for certain positions may receive, just for a single position, 500 resumes. And if they're able to, they're going to review every single one of them by hand. And so let's assume it takes let's call it 30 seconds to review each resume. That's going to be 4 hours of time. So the faster you can help them make that association and take that lift off of them, you're going to move forward. And you're also going to set yourself apart, right? It's like a needle in a haystack, but if you kind of paint yourself a color, then you're going to stick out in that haystack. And so I just really encourage the clarity piece. And I think lastly is authenticity. So we often see people using ChatGPT, right, to structure your resume, which is great. Like that can really be helpful and powerful in how you are articulating your experience and your skills. We also see people maybe use ChatGPT for application questions for the same reasons. Don't let that authenticity be taken away by AI. That's the thing, again, that sets you apart. And so would just maybe encourage those pieces.
Yeah, Alicia, you said exactly what I was going to add as well. So absolutely double down, plus 1,000 to what you just said. The few other pieces of the puzzle, like look for those long dashes that ChatGPT generates. So I go through the actual reach out. This is pretty simple and mechanical, but there are even tools for that you can use. A. B, you can actually train a model on your style of communication. So if you feed it a bunch of stuff that you've actually written yourself, plus your resume, plus I don't know, if you ever participate in a podcast, you can feed all of that into the model and then ask that model to come up with a reach out or to polish your reach out. This will allow you to still sound like yourself, but you got some help from a tool, which is great.
Great, thank you. What's one thing you wish job seekers understood about company hiring?
Don't take it personally when you get rejected. It is an extremely competitive market, and most of the best companies have an incredibly high bar for talent, and that is healthy. Those are the kind of companies where you want to work. So try to ask for feedback, get as much feedback as possible whenever you are getting rejected. All of us have been rejected before at some point, myself included certainly. Try to learn from that and move on. That's the piece I wanted to touch on.
Love that. Maybe to also add is that it's going to sound crazy, but like hiring isn't just about hiring. Like we're not hiring to just fill a seat or fill a position. And often these decisions, especially for early stage companies where you're working in such a small team and so closely together, it's not just about skills and skill fit or things that might just be on the job description. Oftentimes at this stage, we're looking for additional things like collaboration, the company's values or principles, depending upon the type of environment, whether it's a remote company or hybrid or other elements, how there are certain attributes that may make people more successful based on those types of environments. And so kind of coming back to not taking it too personally, there's a lot of factors that oftentimes are not made explicit or transparent when that decision is made if you are not moving forward. And I would say that a lot of those factors are key into that situation.
Thank you. We got a lot of questions regarding tactics for specific situations. So I'm going to name a few, and if you have a quick thought about that, I'd love to hear them. So how can candidates best position themselves when they have a lot of short stints on their resume? Any thoughts?
Yeah, great question. I would say just have very crisp explanations for each one of the situations, for each one of the departures, let's say, and make sure that you don't come off negative, like you're blaming the company, oh, my manager sucked, or this happened, that happened. Try to explain the situation maximally truthfully, but without pointing fingers. And also maybe highlighting something you've learned from that. It's probably the best advice. But Alicia, what else? Yeah.
Totally agree. And where possible, really emphasizing the outcomes, emphasizing your learnings, like you said, and also the outcomes, I think can be really powerful. And maybe just also include in your summary of your resume that you're really optimizing for a long-term position. So, yeah.
And do try to stay for a little bit longer at your next company. That certainly helps and kind of changes your trajectory a little bit.
One thing I'll just add is if you know there will be questions, answer those questions in your resume, especially in that top section that you can call professional summary, professional mission statement. Answer the question so that people then, or recruiters or founders then continue to look at the rest of your resume.
Yeah, we're like investigators. So we're going to be.
Yes. And the less time they have to spend investigating, looking at your LinkedIn, looking at your GitHub, is the better. All right, next one. How can a candidate best position themselves when they are generalists with a lot of range and a broad scope of experience that covers a lot of ground? And Alicia, I know you had some thoughts there.
I mean, startups love generalists. Let's take that as a leverage it to our advantage. I think kind of coming back to the clarity piece, the challenge sometime for generalists can be you might get put into another generalist role if you're not super clear on what it is that you're looking for, especially if you're looking to get more specialized or dedicated in a single area or focus or expertise. So if that's true, clarify that up front so that way we don't encourage you to go to another generalist role or vice versa. I would also maybe make sure that you're highlighting in each of your areas of experience or positions what your strengths were. Because as a generalist, the assumption or hypothesis might be you're just really great at a lot of things, but maybe there's no clear spike. I think emphasizing that spike is also what's going to help set you apart and make sure that you're going in the right direction for where you want to go next.
Thank you. Next situation. For those with career gaps, how do they best position themselves?
Yeah, I'd say that it's okay to have a career gap. Maybe you wanted to travel for a while. Maybe you were focusing on writing a book, or focusing on your family or your new child, your newborn. I think it's totally healthy, and you should be careful about companies that perceive it negatively. That said, you should be able to probably explain what you've learned and how you've grown as an individual, and maybe to a certain extent as a professional during that time. So if you're an engineer, maybe you're focusing on your child for 6 months or 8 months, but hopefully you're staying sharp. Hopefully you are following all the trends. Hopefully you're reading the latest, greatest AI papers, so on and so forth. Hopefully you built an app just for fun because you're like that. You like to build things.
Awesome. Last situation. So we have some new grads who've just recently graduated and have limited work experience on their resumes. Any thought for them?
So one, big kudos for our new grads that are here. Excited for you. And I think probably the most important thing is making sure that you are staying at the forefront of all of the most modern tools, technologies, things that are happening within the industry, and then projects. So keeping your GitHub up to date, regularly making those commits if you're in software engineering. Highly also recommend joining and becoming part of like open source communities, which can be a really wonderful way to be poached by an open source company. And then for individuals that maybe are less on the technical side, I think it's a great time and opportunity to really focus and hone in on how you can expand on some of the experience that you would like to get through other types of like community or through educational opportunities, whether that's like a boot camp or some sort of organization in which you can build upon some of the skills that will help to make sure that you are getting front and center of the type of opportunities that you are seeking.
I also wanted to add everything that you said, but also on top of that, tell us what you've done in college, aside from actually just attending classes and partying and all of that good stuff. Tell us about the internships you've done. Tell us about what you've built. Tell us about the hackathon that you've run. Tell us about the leadership role that you've held. Tell us about something you've organized, something interesting that you've done. All of those experiences are relevant. So emphasize them in addition to how great your school is, how great your GPA is, and that you're excited about the company.
Thank you. We're going to move on to some quick hot takes. So they're going to give very brief, very quick answers. So first one, how many interviews does it take to determine mutual fit?
Wanna go
Commit.
first? Yeah. Okay. I think it kind of depends. Sorry, how long do I have? Like 5 seconds? Okay, I kind of think it depends on the environment. So, for example, TRM is a 100% remote company. We don't have the opportunity to meet everyone in person before they join. And so sometimes that may require a couple more touch points in the interview process because you're building trust remotely, which may take a little bit longer. So I often see our interview processes being about 5 on the short side to 7 interviews, and that's often going to be lower for hybrid or in-person environments, closer to maybe about 4.
Yeah, +1. We are a remote first company as well, so we do get together 4 times a year in person, but the rest of the time is remote. I'd say anywhere from 4 to 7 interviews, depending on the role and the complexity.
Thank you. What time of day is best to reach out to a recruiter or submit a job application?
Job application really does not matter. We review those applications in time chunks when we have time. This can be at any time. As far as reaching out, hitting somebody up on LinkedIn, for instance, I think it's so sort of personal. Depends on the recruiter. Depends on the head of talent. For me, it's probably in the morning time. It's like the most calm time. I try to wake up early and look through things. But I think it is personal. It's unlikely that everybody's like me.
I mean, I'm like you at morning and then late afternoon. Yeah.
There you hear it, folks. Okay. Follow-up thank you emails. Are they necessary or unnecessary for a candidate? Yes or no?
I love a good follow-up email. It can be short, it can be super brief, but the extra time and attention.
Yeah, I wouldn't say necessary, but that will help you stand out, especially if it's a thoughtful email. And it doesn't take that much to write. And you can reuse templates and customize them. I'm just being
make sure
real
you change
with
the
all
company
of you.
name.
Obviously, we all use AI tools. Like, that's okay.
All right. Last one. So on LinkedIn, we can see how many people have applied to a job. If a company has already received 500 applications, should a candidate still apply?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to need a follow-up. Why?
There's a reason why it's still posted. And it could,
That.
because we want to hire you.
All right, we're going to wrap up, but a few last questions. So do you have any predictions for the state of hiring in 2026?
Competitive. AI first.
I think right now we're in this, I kind of mentioned, experimentation phase of like using AI tools for our workflows. I'm really curious to see if we move towards a place of, like in the world of talent, every individual within a company actually building new workflows and new ways of working, and that it's no longer going to be like, hey, are you doing this? But like, how are you doing this? And I think we're actually already starting to make that transition. And I'm excited for it, but I would just encourage folks to really be prepared for that going into interviews, starting like now, but especially in 2026.
Yeah, AI adoption across the company is vital. So how does your piece of the puzzle fit into that? Think about that.
All right, last question. We talked about startup readiness already. What are some good startup readiness indicators you look for when assessing candidates? Or how can candidates signal startup readiness in interviews or on their resume or LinkedIn?
Any examples of you showing a lot of grit, breaking through walls, moving fast and learning? Moving fast without necessarily breaking things, but definitely moving fast. Authenticity still plays a big role as well. Small teams, we need to like each other and respect each other to work in a cohesive way. So that's a piece of the puzzle. Those are some of the things that come to mind.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, startups are wild. Like, it's really wild. In examples that you share during the interview process or in your applications, like showing the complexity of situations. Maybe you've never worked in a startup, and that is absolutely okay. But showing the complexity and the challenges and the scale of the things that you've encountered. not just how you solved them and what the outcome is, but how you got there, the problem solving piece, and then like the energy behind it. Like, are you loving that? Are you loving the challenge, or is it draining? And then how frequently are you encountering that and also still energized? That goes a long way, I think, too.
I'd say also have some opinions.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay to be opinionated in a respectful way and continue learning, continue reinventing yourself. So strong opinions loosely held. That's a good mantra to have.
Thank you. Any final thoughts or tips for the room?
Have fun. I mean, you know, it's the most important thing. And reflect along the way. The things that made you like feel good, that you leaned into, those are all positive signals. Don't be afraid to ask questions, you know, especially in your conversations, I think, with the companies today. Get really, really curious, and maybe also ask people if this is your first time working or considering working in a startup environment, really asking and getting specific about what that looks like for each of the people at that company, so you can kind of learn a little bit more.
I'd say on top of that, show that you have agency. If something is not working, show how you fixed it proactively or came up with a new process or anything like that. That is a mandatory component to every single role at an early stage company. So show that you have agency.
Thank you so much. You'll have the opportunity to come chat with each of them later tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.